as a company, what do? I mean, you like that they did that because now you have a way to fix it, but at the same time, you don't like that because it showed a flaw in your system, and that might get out to people. That might reduce trust in your company. As a government, what do? Do you arrest these people because the hacking is illegal, but it's ethical because they're not actually stealing information. They're trying to point out things like that, and it's difficult from all those positions. As the hacker, is it okay to be doing this? As the business, what do you do? And as the government, what do you do? For future concerns, a lot of it revolves around user data. You look at Facebook, you look at LinkedIn, you look at Google. They collect a lot of data, just vast amounts of data on people, and they use it for multiple things. You can use it for somewhat ethical things of saying, hey, we're going to show you ads that are based on things you like. We're going to have YouTube algorithm that says, hey, they watch these things. Let's have them watch something similar because they're probably going to like that. That seems like a good thing. On the flip side, it can be a problem. If you are an anti-vaxxer, for example, it's going to only give you anti-vaxxer information and groups on Facebook. Not only, but a significant amount of them. You're going to be stuck in that bubble of not receiving outside information. As the programmer who creates those algorithms, is it okay for you to create those algorithms, or should you say, no, I can't do this, and possibly lose your job over it? It's a big ethical concern. There's also issues with social media. We saw a lot in the last election. We have platforms of social media. You look at Twitter was a huge one that was kind of trying to find the middle ground of allowing people to have their free speech on their platform, while at the same time trying to say, hey, what they've just said is not substantiated and is probably false. Where do you decide to make those decisions? Do you just let anyone do anything? Do you further regulate to prevent that? Do you even allow those things to go out? You look at the former president was actually removed from the site because of what he had said, but was allowed throughout his presidency to spread that information. They drew the line when he was no longer president. Where do you draw the line? You also have future concerns with AI replacing people. I take an example of this. There was an article about a guy who created a program essentially to do his own job at his company. He created this program, and there were about 10, 15 workers who were in that same position. He was torn because if he gave this information, this program he created, to his boss, those people were still out of a job. In his way, he ended up negotiating for them to move to other positions, but that's not always a possibility. And this is constantly happening. We've had robotics for a while, replacing warehouse and that kind of machinery positions that are factory positions that are kind of going away. Now we have AI that's replacing what would have been the protected jobs in the past. Things like programmers. You look at what you can do with websites now using templates that have been created. That's only going to get more intuitive for people who have no programming experience. So then where as a web developer do you go? Whereas a software developer, do you say, hey, I can't create this site because this is going to lose people jobs? But at the same time where you say, hey, someone's going to do this, why shouldn't I at least try to do it right? It's very back and forth of where the line is. From Mac's perspective, the biggest things were disinformation, First Amendment rights, which I talked about this already with platforms. Where do you say it's okay that someone wrote this thing that's completely wrong on my platform, versus where you say, hey, I can't have this on my platform, I got to remove it. There's issues with First Amendment rights in that case where you have freedom of speech. Technically, freedom of speech is only by the government, but it's still generally ethically the thing to do is to give people the right to speak, even if what they're saying you disagree with. from here you get to a publisher versus a platform idea, where you have platforms like Google, or like, I should say YouTube, or like Twitter, where they technically can't get in trouble with current regulations for people posting things on their site. If someone posts a death threat to someone, that person gets in trouble, the company doesn't. Publishers are the opposite, where someone, like a newspaper, prints something, they are liable for it. Where is the line between platform and publisher? Where do you say, hey, that's no longer what a platform, we're no longer a platform, we're a publisher? There's a lot of focus on Twitter, who was, as I've said previously, banning users or removing disinformation. Technically, that might push them towards the platformer and might push them towards the, hey, they should be more liable for this stuff, but we don't know. We're still trying to figure that out. Another example of this was Cambridge Analytica, who over the last 5-6 years have been essentially pushing these kinds of fake news is the common term now, but disinformation on people to try to force elections certain ways, or try people to vote even local elections certain ways. That's not very ethical, but at the same time, where do you draw a line? If you're a software developer for Cambridge Analytica, where do you say, hey, this isn't okay, versus where you say, I'm just a cog in the machine? It's kind of unethical to think that, but where's the line drawn? As a conclusion, I want to provide this discussion question. Imagine you create a website and find a client is pushing a view that you strongly disagree with. So imagine you are very pro-vaccination and someone hires you to do a website that's spreading anti-vaccination propaganda. Is it ethical for you to turn that down? Because that is your personal bias coming through. Or is it ethical only for you to actually do the job? Like where do you draw a line on what personal biases are allowed to come through from an ethical standpoint versus where can you draw the line? Thank you for watching my presentation. This is my bibliography. Thank you.